Okay, so let's be honest. If you have a personal injury claim, one of the first things you want to know is how long will it take to get a settlement? So I'm going to break down the different phases of the personal injury settlement process and talk to you about how long each phase takes, so you'll understand why some injury settlements might only take a month or two, while others can take well over a year. The first phase of a personal injury claim is the medical treatment phase. This is the phase of your case when you are getting medical treatment for your injuries and trying to get your health back to where it was before the accident, if possible. This is a very important phase for your claim because what happens during this phase is going to have a huge impact on the settlement value of your claim. Why is that, you might ask? Because getting medical treatment is how you document your injuries. The medical records your healthcare providers create while they're treating you for your injuries are going to serve as the primary evidence of the types of injuries you had, how severe your injuries were, and how long you suffered from those injuries. All of that information is critical when we are evaluating the settlement value of your claim. Alright, so how long does the medical treatment phase take? Well, that's entirely dependent on how badly you're injured and how quickly you are able to recover. And this is different for everybody. If you're dealing with soft tissue injuries after a car accident, you might finish treatment in just a few months of chiropractic care or physical therapy. But if you had a herniated disc in your back, you might need to go through physical therapy, and if that doesn't work, maybe some epidural injections or nerve ablations, and if none of that works, you might even need surgery, and that can take well over a year to figure out. But you don't want to rush yourself out of medical treatment just so you can try to settle your injury case. In most cases, you will want to wait until you've finished getting medical treatment, or if you have permanent injuries, you have reached maximum medical improvement before you try to settle your case. That's because once your case is settled, it's over. And whatever money you get from your settlement is all the money there's ever going to be. You can't come back later and get more money if your injuries turn out to be worse than you originally thought when you settled your case. Now, with that being said, there are some situations where you'll want to move your case into the next settlement phase even if you haven't finished your medical treatment yet. The first is when you have permanent injuries. If you have permanent injuries, there's no sense in waiting until you get better before settling your claim because unfortunately you may never get better. As long as we know that your injury is going to be permanent and have an idea of what kind of medical care you will need in the future, we can go ahead and start the process for settling your claim because we should have enough information to put a fair settlement value on your case. We'll also speed up the settlement process when we've determined that there's a limited amount of insurance to cover your injuries. You'll want to avoid a situation where all of your settlement money is going to pay off medical bills and there's nothing left for you. So if we believe the value of your case already exceeds the limits of available insurance coverage, then our goal is to get you that insurance money as soon as possible before your medical bills eat up all of your settlement funds. That way you put as much of the settlement money in your pocket as possible. Once you're done getting medical treatment, the next phase of your case is the records collection phase, where we will collect any records we need to move your case forward. By this point, we should have already started the records collection process and obtained a lot of the documents and evidence we will need to move your case forward, such as the police report, the 911 recordings, photographs, witness statements, and other evidence we will need to establish liability. But we will usually wait until you finish treating with a medical provider before we request the medical records and bills from that provider, so we don't have to request them multiple times, and that's going to save you money. One thing you can do to speed up this part of the process is to keep us informed of any medical providers you see during the treatment phase, because it's important that we get all of your records from your medical providers so that we can properly evaluate your case for settlement. So whenever you see a new healthcare provider or have an upcoming appointment with a new healthcare provider, just shoot us a quick email or a text message and let us know so that we can keep track of where we need to get your records from. Another thing you can do to speed up this part of the process is to let us know when a medical provider has released you from treatment. It's common in injury cases for you to see multiple providers, and some providers will release you from treatment before others. We don't need to wait until you finish treatment with all of your providers before we start collecting the medical records. We can collect a provider's records as soon as that provider releases you from treatment. It usually takes about 30 days from the date of our request for a healthcare provider to send us your medical records. So when you get released from treatment by one of your providers, go ahead and let us know so that we can get a jump on getting those records while you're still getting treatment from other providers. Once we have all the records and evidence we need, then your case is going to move into the settlement demand phase of the settlement process. In this part of the process, we evaluate all of the information and evidence regarding the accident and injuries, and we come up with what we believe is a fair value for settling your case, and it's usually a range. And once we have a settlement range figured out that we want to target in settlement negotiations, then we prepare a settlement demand package to send to the insurance company or at-fault party, where we will explain the kind of injuries you had, what kind of treatment you received, and how the injuries impacted your life. And we'll include the records and the evidence that we've collected to support your case. It usually takes about 1 to 2 weeks for us to prepare the settlement demand package. After we send the settlement demand package, your case is going to move into the negotiation phase of the settlement process. Insurance companies will typically respond to our demand for settlement within 30 days, and depending on the response that we get from the insurance company, your case can go a few different ways. The best and quickest way for your case to go is if the insurance company simply accepts your settlement demand and pays you what you demand. And that's most likely to happen when it's clear from your medical records and bills that the value of your case greatly exceeds the amount of insurance coverage available to pay your claim. Another way your case could go is if the insurance company denies your claim. Now, there are lots of reasons that could happen. Maybe the insurance company doesn't believe their policyholder is at fault for causing the accident. Maybe they don't think that the accident was the cause of your injuries. Or maybe they don't think that the insurance policy covers the accident. In any event, if the insurance company denies your claim, it's time to put the settlement process on hold and move your case into the lawsuit process. Sometimes a lawsuit is necessary to get the insurance company to take you seriously. We've had tons of cases where the insurance company initially denied the claim, but later ended up paying a lot of money to settle the case after it was litigated or tried in court. So don't give up hope if the insurance company initially denies your claim. But the most common scenario is when the insurance company doesn't accept your demand but makes a counteroffer of their own. When this happens, we will negotiate with the insurance company until we believe we've received their best offer. Then we'll talk to you about your options so you can make a decision about whether to settle your case or proceed with a lawsuit. Now, negotiations can take as little as a couple of weeks to sometimes a few months. And if you're not one of our clients and you're trying to negotiate your injury claim on your own, I did a whole video on how to negotiate with insurance adjusters that you might want to check out. I'll put a link to it at the end of this video. Now, assuming we reach an agreement with the other side on the amount to settle your case for, your case will then move into the settlement phase. This is where the parties will formalize the settlement with a written release agreement. And this is a legal document that will release your rights and claims in exchange for the settlement payment. Once the parties agree on the terms of settlement, we can usually get the paperwork knocked out in a week or two, and then the check comes within a week or two of that. And then we'll deposit those funds into our client trust account before dispersing them to you. But that's not quite the end of the process. Once we have the settlement funds, your case will move into the liens and reductions phase. And if you have any liens against your case or any outstanding balances with medical providers, this is the phase of the case where we will finalize those liens and balances and try to negotiate them down to the lowest number possible so you put more money in your pocket. Now, we will know the amounts of the liens and the outstanding balances before you settle, and we'll give you that information before you decide to settle so you'll know how much of the settlement money might need to be used to satisfy any liens or bills that are still out there. And for a lot of lien holders, we'll have a pretty good idea of what kind of reductions they'll normally agree to, so you'll have that information as well before you settle. However, some lien holders and medical providers won't agree to any reductions until your settlement is completely finalized. And in those situations, we typically tell our clients when they're making the decision to settle that they should assume the full amount of the lien or the bill will need to be paid from the settlement funds. Then once the case is settled, we'll still go to work to get the reductions on those liens and bills and hopefully put more money into your pocket than you were expecting. Our goal is to have the liens and reductions phase completed within 30 days of the settlement. If you don't have any liens or outstanding medical bills, you can go ahead and skip right to the next step. Once we get all the liens and outstanding balances taken care of, we're ready for the most important part, which is distributing the settlement funds to you. Before we do this, you will get a settlement distribution summary, which is a lot like a closing statement you would get if you were closing on a house. This summary is going to tell you down to the penny where all of the settlement money is going. how much is going to you, your attorney, and any lien holders or medical providers that have the right to be paid from the settlement funds. And we'll have you sign off on that before any of the money gets distributed to anyone so that everyone is on the same page. Once we're ready to make distributions, we can go ahead and get you your check that same day, and we'll make payments to any of the lien holders or medical providers with outstanding balances, so you don't have to worry about that. Then you can take your check and put it in your bank account, and your personal injury case is officially over. But as we talked about earlier, sometimes the other side isn't willing to settle your case for fair value, and when that happens, your only option is to file a lawsuit. If you're in that situation, watch my next video to learn about the lawsuit process. And if you'd like a free case review for an injury case, use the link below to send us some information about your case, and we can set up a time to talk. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.